Rio de Janeiro, Brazil is now a war zone with clashes everywhere. This is Brazil's worst bloodshed incident. A full-scale war has broken out between the government and criminal organizations. Today, let's take a proper look at the dolls. Let's get right into it. Currently, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil is literally in a state of war. Smoke is rising throughout the city and the sounds of gunfire and explosions are non-stop. On screen, burning buildings, fleeing citizens, and helicopters overhead. A full-scale war between criminal groups and the state is happening now. Brazilian police call this operation the largest crackdown on criminal organizations ever. The target was the base of Brazil's biggest criminal group, Comando Vermelho. At 4 a.m. on October 28, 2025, Special Police Force vehicles quietly gathered in Rio. 32 armored vehicles, 12 tactical vehicles, and 2 helicopters launched simultaneously, starting the operation. 2,500 police and security personnel were deployed in a major operation targeting the northern Rio favela. This area is just 25 kilometers from downtown Rio and close to Corcovado Hill, home to the famous statue of Jesus. The favela, with its narrow alleys and crowded hillside homes, had been a stronghold of criminal organizations for years. Even the police couldn't enter easily. When Brazilian police launched an operation and helicopters filled the sky, the criminal organization members responded immediately. They used parked cars as barricades and ambushed police in every alley. Police blocked main roads with buses to prevent escapes and entered from both directions, surrounding the favela. Shootouts erupted in several locations. A police armored vehicle advanced as the gang used a drone to drop bombs. Bombs fell, shattering windows and filling the streets with thick black smoke. Explosions erupted repeatedly, and flames quickly spread along the building's exterior walls. Residents rushed into the streets in pajamas. Local police report at least 132 people were killed in the operation. 4 police officers and 128 criminal organization members were confirmed killed. Most were people who faced police with weapons as they entered. Police said the shootings were unavoidable due to armed resistance, but civic groups argue unarmed residents suffered even more. 3 innocent favela residents were shot and taken to the hospital. They were startled by noises outside the window, and when they looked out, were hit by stray bullets. Due to this operation, major roads in northern Rio were blocked, and about 40 schools were temporarily closed. Bus services were completely suspended, and all the shops closed their shutters. There are 280,000 residents living in this area alone. Many of them couldn't go to work. In fact, the reason the Brazilian government launched this unprecedented large-scale military operation wasn't just to suppress criminal organizations. Behind this is the upcoming 30th United Nations Climate Change Conference of the Parties. This November, Brazil will draw global attention with this conference. World leaders, international organization reps, environmental officials, and major media outlets are set to go to Brazil. With Brazil in the international spotlight, public security was tied to the nation's image. Brazil has long carried the stigma of being a country with poor public security and criminal organizations. Foreign news often cited Rio de Janeiro as one of the world's most dangerous cities. Before the 2016 Rio Olympics opening, Brazilian police launched a major operation against criminal organizations, which the international community saw as an effort to control crime before the event. There were often gunfights and casualties, but a death toll of 132 is unprecedented in Brazil's history. This event symbolizes Brazil's strong commitment to hosting the 30th United Nations Climate Change Conference. In fact, Brazil has shown similar cases in the past as well. Ahead of the 2016 Rio Olympics, Brazil carried out operations to crack down on criminal organizations in the areas around Rio and São Paulo. Dozens died before, but this is the first time deaths surpassed 100. This is more than a security operation. It's seen as part of the Brazilian government's image campaign to the international community. The direct goal of the operation that day was to wipe out the most notorious criminal organization in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, known as Comando Vermelho. They aren't just a criminal group, but a powerful organization seen as the backbone of Brazil's modern criminal society. It all began in the 1970s at a prison in Rio de Janeiro. During the military regime, political prisoners and criminals shared cells and exchanged skills, leading to the creation of Comando Vermelho. Political prisoners taught management and strategy. Criminals learned practical crime skills. This combination eventually became a vast criminal network that shook Brazil. Afterwards, Comando Vermelho expanded from theft and drug trafficking to acting as an unofficial government ruling entire favelas. They turned areas where the police couldn't enter into their own zones of control and established their own kind of laws for the residents. The organization decided who sold drugs, controlled alleys, and settled family disputes. They gave food to the poor and jobless, and promised protection to those who cooperated with the criminal group. They provide welfare and security that the government fails to offer. They became both demons and guardians to the poor, making huge profits from drug trafficking. They smuggled drugs made in Brazil and other South American countries like Paraguay and Bolivia, supplying them globally. Afterwards, they established international smuggling routes centered around ports and expanded their influence to Europe and Africa. Brazilian authorities estimate annual criminal profits at several $billion. In addition, Comando Vermelho has a military-level organizational structure. There is even a department responsible for punishment within the organization, and it is known that members who disobey orders or commit acts of betrayal are executed immediately. This strong hierarchy kept the organization stable, even if police arrested a member. The Brazilian government has carried out several operations over the years to weaken their power, but each time the organization would disperse temporarily and then reorganize. Some favela residents supported Comando Vermelho, claiming it solved problems faster than the police. Due to these social structural issues, the Brazilian police couldn't suppress them by force alone. This operation followed a year of intelligence gathering, infiltration, and investigation. Police used wiretaps, satellite data, and informants to locate Comando Vermelho's strongholds. Through this, they secured hundreds of arrest and search warrants and launched a surprise operation at dawn. The police upheld strict security until the operation, tightly controlling the plan to prevent leaks. Many analysts believe this operation aims not only to fight crime, but also to boost Brazil's national prestige and international image. Comando Vermelho had spread across Brazil and gained control in prisons. They issued orders even from inside prison and bribed guards to win them over. The government determined national security couldn't be maintained and launched a major joint military police operation. In other words, this operation was a major success achieved by the Brazilian police after years of investigation, but at the same time, it also exposed the deep-rooted poverty and inequality in Brazilian society, as well as the limitations of the national system. With the situation escalating, Argentina raised its highest alert to boost border security. Patricia Blick, Argentina's Minister of Security, explained at a press conference that the National Security Department held a meeting and issued the highest level of alert at the border to ensure that criminals expected to be on the move would not be able to cross the border in any way. She also said they would monitor Brazilians crossing the border. Afterwards, Brazil was swept up in controversy. In the Brazilian National Congress, there was a fierce debate between the ruling and opposition parties. The ruling party and government called the operation a righteous defense of national sovereignty and a historic step against crime. The opposition claimed the government risked citizens' lives to protect the country's image before an international event and called for a fact-finding committee. Human rights groups released statements condemning it as state violence against the poor. Society continues to debate if this operation was justice or violence. Brazilian opposition politicians urged the federal government to give budget and military aid to states to step up the fight against criminal groups. Human rights groups and sociologists say this operation is only temporary, since these areas lack proper education, medical services, electricity, water, and sanitation facilities. People living there are naturally driven to join criminal organizations. Therefore, even if the current organizations are eliminated, critics argue that new ones will eventually emerge. Currently, in order to completely eliminate these criminal organizations, the social system needs to be better established. Also, it seems that support for the vulnerable classes must be firmly provided in order to eradicate criminal organizations. And the drug problem definitely needs to be solved as well. If sending police to eliminate them could solve the issue, it would have been resolved a long time ago. Currently, operations to eradicate criminal organizations are taking place all over Brazil. What do you think about the current situation? Please leave your thoughts in the comments as well. That's the end of the video. Thank you.